In this video, we're going to talk about service orders and specifically how to add and edit your time and add products to the service order that are used in the field. So when you come to the DTools Cloud dashboard and you're on the calls page, you'll find your service calls that are scheduled. And you'll see right here on the top of the page the information about this call, when it's scheduled for, the specific date, the time window, which is 2 to 4 is the working time, the basic information, the client's information, as well as the general area and address. We're going to pass by the reschedule button as we mentioned in the previous video, and we're going to start talking here about your time and how to begin a service call. So you can use the begin button here. This is a lot like the clock in project feature on project tasks, which is similar to using timers in the previous iterations of software we've used. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the begin button. The begin button effectively has started a timer. And that is starting the actual log of labor time. We're going to talk about labor time versus billing time a little bit here in a moment, but for now we're just going to go through a couple quick basics. The issue found, as we talked about last time, the TV was not falling. Articulating mount. So this time we're going to make a little bit of a change. So the action taken, checked out other TVs and talked to the client about fixing their internet. Next steps. So here's where things are a little different than the last video. Because you were talking to the client and she had you do, or he had you do some other things, there's some work that may need to be done, or you might want to communicate this to people in the office to have a sales person reach out to them. Talk to client about a new Wi-Fi system. So again, we went ahead and checked that off. Checklist items here. We're not really doing a return visit, so we're not worried about that. So I'm going to start with the products used, because that's just where we are in the actual kind of topology of the window here. So repair product and replace product, again, we're not going to use that, at least at this point in time. We may use that at a later date. So right now I'm just going to talk about additional products used. So I'm going to hit the plus arrow here. Now there's two ways of adding product. There's products that are in the catalog, which are in the top search bar here in the window. So as an example, let's say, hey, she had me add a Eero device. So I want to do a search for Eero. I happen to have one in the truck or the van. Not sure that would actually normally happen. Actually, instead of an Eero, I'm going to use an Apple TV. Maybe that's a little bit more likely. So Apple TV, there you go. You see it's already listed. I can tap on it. It adds all the information, the category, the brand, the model, the UPC. You do have the option here of recording the serial number. Serial number is not necessarily something we're asking to do immediately, but that may become a valuable tool in the future. Location, if it's helpful to log, hey, I did this in the family room. So this way when we're billing, we can say this was for the family room. And you can even take a picture of where it goes. Now, something that's a little interesting on this page, towards the bottom, I could add the product and that'll add it to my billing. But you also have this request product button. That's very useful when you know that a client wants something, especially if they have, let's say, multiple rooms and they want an Apple TV. You could put those in here and say request product. And when you click request product, you'll notice that it shows up as requested in a big red flag. So that tells us in the office, hey, the client wants this. So again, that's something that can be useful if you want to delineate rather than writing out a whole list of things. You can effectively add up different items in different rooms. That's helpful. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and delete it since we don't need that for our version of things. I'm going to go ahead and X out of this. I'm going to go back to additional products used. And let's say I'm adding something that's not in the catalog. Just for giggles, I'm going to say I'm adding a binary, which has the brand, great. I don't know the brand off the top of my head, but I know it's an HDMI splitter. Now, when you're doing this, since you don't have the pricing information, the specific models, that's okay for now. If you just happen to have something in your truck that you want to document, you don't have to have that information immediately. Adding a picture would probably be helpful just to help clarify so we can get whatever information we need later. I'm going to go ahead and add that product, and I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. And it's going to ask me here if I want to add any additional products. I'm going to go ahead and do that because I want to show you how the additions work. So let's go ahead and put that Apple TV back that we were talking about earlier. And there's the Apple TV, and it has a price. Everything is listed in there. Great. I'm going to add the product, shows it installed, and I'm going to hit continue. And this time I'm going to say continue to work summary. So this brings me back to where I was before. You'll notice though now at the bottom where it used to say add product, that's gone, and it's giving me a call duration. So that call duration is literally assuming that since I finished adding product, I was done with the service call. Not to worry that that's not accurate. You can edit that time at any point, and we're going to talk about that here now. So if I wanted to edit the call duration, the amount of time I was there, I'm going to go ahead and tap here. And you'll notice here at the top, it says labor time 0 hours, call duration 4 minutes. So this is important. There's a difference between the labor time, which is the amount of time we're going to bill the client, versus the call duration, which is the amount of time we were there. This is useful if we have a warranty service call. This is going to be useful going forward when we have service contracts. For now, let's talk about them independently. So the start and end time you'll see is a 4-minute gap. That's the 4-minute window which we were doing the actual editing of the ticket. So I'm going to change that. So let's say I actually got there today at 2 o'clock. Remember, you got to record things in 15-minute increments still, just so that we have everything accurate, because that's how we bill clients. 2 o'clock is when I started, and let's say 4 o'clock, not 4:10, is when I finished. So 4 o'clock p.m. So great. Now my call duration is 2 hours. That makes sense. That doesn't still account for my billing labor time, which we need to actually put in here so that when we're sending a bill out, that stuff is automatically calculated. If I click the add button here, it's going to ask me to select the labor type. Right now there's only one labor type for service, which is standard service. We're going to say it was 2 hours. You notice it doesn't ask me specifically what time I started, what time I stopped. It gives you a reference at the top of your call duration time, so that should help you out. But for some reason, let's say in the 2 hours you were there, a half hour of it was really warranty service, and you've already cleared that, then you would change this labor hours to 1.5. So I'll go ahead and do that here as an example. I'm going to change that to 30 minutes, and I'm going to hit add. So now what I have is I have a call duration that was 2 hours. I have a labor total time of 1 hour and 30 minutes. So that is what substantiates my labor for billing. I'm going to go ahead and back up. And now you'll see it says call duration 2 hours. Drive time, we won't worry about that in this video. We'll talk about it in the next video. Total labor time, meaning build time, is 1 hour and 30 minutes. The start time and end time was 2 to 4. Attachments, meaning those photos like I was talking about before. I now have the option to add more products. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to go ahead and click finish.